SOLIDWORKS has a tool for bringing in DXFs as well as DWGs and allowing you to use the sketches within those to create a 3D model. So you can quickly take a drawing like this, import it in, and turn this into 3D. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a DXF. And then I'm brought into this dialog for DXF/DWG import. So I want to create a new part from this. So I'm going to choose the part option. And I want to use the sketches from the model, or the sketches from the DXF, to create this. So I'm going to choose the 2D sketch option. This is going to bring us into a document settings option. We want to be sure to select the correct units. In this case, I made this in inches, so I want to keep it in inches. You also want to make sure that whatever program the drawing was exported out of was using a 1:1 scale, so you'll get the correct scaling when you create your part. Otherwise, for example, if this was a 1:2 scaling, when I go and use these sketches, I'm going to get a half-sized part. Depending on where you're importing in the DXF from, you might have quite a few layers, and you can remove these out individually. With SOLIDWORKS, all of my items were placed on a single layer, so I bring in pretty much everything from the drawing. There's also options to import the dimensions, which I don't want to do because I just want to use the drawings, as well as adding in constraints if we want it. The drawing layer mapping I usually don't modify at all. We could always come in and remove things out if we wanted, but typically that's not terribly necessary, as we can work around those items. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Finish, and then here I get asked if I want to enable the Explode Blocks option, which is recommended for merging of separate entities and sketches. And we'll go ahead and say yes, although we probably won't use this option. So we're immediately brought into a sketch when we do this with all of those elements. And automatically activated is this 2D to 3D toolbar, which is either going to be floating out in space or off to the left here. And this is going to facilitate turning this into a 3D part. So the first thing I can do is add a front sketch. So if I select out an area, I can convert this to the front sketch. So you see that turns gray. This got exploded into its own sketch. Now if I go ahead and do the same with the side view and select the correct orientation, that should rotate in properly. And for this I have a bottom view, so I'll go ahead and select out the bottom and then exit the sketch. Now I can go ahead and hide out that model sketch and just work with these three views. If you happen to select the wrong orientation, for example if I selected top, this would be flipped and we'd have to modify this. So if you accidentally add these into the wrong orientation, you can come into the sketch tools, choose the modify option, and if you right click in on these dots, you can flip the orientation of the sketch. Now within this toolbar we have an align sketch option. So if I control click these two lines, for example, and choose align, that's going to bring this down. I can do the same with this sketch. And I can also line up the sides if I want as well. Now depending on how I have this oriented, I might need to move some things around. For my bottom sketch and my front sketch, I'm going to mostly just be using these for cuts, but I need this to be positioned correctly with respect to the side sketch. So if I can't get it with the align tool, one thing I can do is come into the sketch, select out all of those lines, and choose the Move Entities command. Here I want to choose a start point, and then I can make this coincident to a point on that sketch. And I can once again move this sketch if necessary, but in this case I'm only going to use this for cuts, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. But once again, if we're not able to align this, we could always create a plane and modify the sketch plane. You'll notice if you choose the Edit Sketch Plane option for these, it's going to be missing a plane because it was never added in on a specific plane. It was just positioned out in space. So the next thing I can do is create that side extrusion for the base of the body. And I'm going to go ahead and extrude this out to a vertex, and then click OK. From here I can create a few cuts, and this is where looking at how that sketch or how that isometric view is set up comes in handy. We can see that the thickness here corresponds to a cut that we're going to create. So I want to create a cut with this rectangle offset to this vertex. So I can either use the contour select tool or choose that option from within the sketch. But for this cut, I want to control select out this entire rectangle. I'm going to go ahead and select the up to vertex and choose that point on the sketch. And then I want to go ahead and show that sketch again and create a cut for this bottom circle. So I'll go ahead and just convert this over and create a line on the bottom, so we have a closed profile. And once again I can choose the extruded cut option. So right click, choose through all, and exit that feature. Next, I'm once again going to use the contour select tool and choose out this area and extrude cut through the entire part. Lastly, I can see I had some holes, and these were countersinks. As we can see, the hole in the center and the cone on the outside. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the hole wizard. Come into ANSI metric. And then I want to go ahead and choose the position for these. And just drop these in on the center of those circles. And then if we didn't know the type, we could just scroll through this really quickly and figure out the right size, which in this case is M5. So you can see it's relatively straightforward to create a 3D part from a 2D drawing that we import in. In this case, the part's fairly simple. In other parts, you might have to take additional steps to get everything right and reference that isometric view a little bit more frequently to figure out where exactly everything is. But otherwise, that's how you'd go about quickly using those sketches to create the 3D part.